I'm Siobhan from Mummy Cooks, and I'm delighted to be here during Weaning Week to talk about my top 10 tips of weaning. So first of all, my top tip would be to add variety. So obviously that is all about, offering different foods every day, different vegetables, different carbohydrates and different proteins. And what this does is it adds different textures so that your baby can get used to those textures. But then as the baby gets on to family food at 1 year of age, they're much more willing to accept that. So if we continuously add the same food, so if we continuously add that sweet potato every day, your baby will kind of associate that with food and then won't eat different food. So it is really important to add variety. Eating in season, and actually I go into a lot of detail on eating in season in my book and kind of show you what's in season at different times of the year, how you can adapt it as finger food and maybe how you can adapt it as a puree. Offering baby control is really important as well, and what I mean by that is we all know that offering finger food for perhaps baby-led weaning is ultimately offering control so that the baby can pick it up and eat it, but we can also do that when we are offering baby a puree. So you're giving some of the food in front of them so they can touch and feel, and maybe a preloaded spoon so that they feel in control. If a baby feels in control, they'll enjoy the experience, and really ultimately that's what we're trying to achieve. Of eating together as a family, so you're showing the way. So even if baby has already eaten, it's still good to sit them down into their high chair and eat and show them the way. They'll be much more likely to try new foods, to be interested and to enjoy the experience. Batch cook is key for any household. Even without a baby, it's really important to batch cook so that you have healthy sauces, healthy meals on hand any day of the week. And that's really what our portion pots are for, so that at any stage you're batch cooking, you're freezing the food, and then you're planning the next day, taking it out of the freezer the night before, into the fridge defrosting, and then heating it through the next day. Portion sizes are a thing. They're not necessarily how you need to stick to it, but it's mainly to do with giving them in and around that amount of food. If they're still hungry, you can offer them maybe finger food or a different food. Planning ahead and having your pots. So if you are thinking that, I really need to get more fish or chicken or beef into the diet, you're planning ahead. What could I cook? What could I batch cook, and do I have my pots then to store it? Because there's no point in having all this food and then not having the correct pots. Do be wary that no plastic will do. You need to have polypropylene, which is a PP, or a Recycle 5, so that they're BPA free and that they can contain hot food, or that they can be reheated in the pot. Have a comfortable high chair, so that's really important. So maybe when you're starting out, you might be able to have them on your knee, and then as the baby gets older, you might have them in their high chair. But it is really important that high chairs are made for a 9-month-old, not really a 6-month-old. So are you adapting the high chair to suit the baby? So are you putting towels beside them and behind, and then a footrest? So we have a footsie, so that goes on to that IKEA high chair that doesn't have the footrest. So you need to adapt the high chairs so that the baby is comfortable. Otherwise they're kind of falling sideways and they're uncomfortable, and then they won't want to stay in the high chair. Limit the length of time that your baby is in the high chair, and that's really important as well. So between 15, maximum 20 minutes, I think, in the high chair. It's almost better to sort of understand that they're full or they're not in the mood for food, rather than forcing them to stay and try and eat the food. Just remember, the milk in the first year is the most important. So if they skip a meal, that's okay. They'll be hungrier for the next one. So it's really important just to relax around meals and let them out of the high chair if they're just not hungry. It may be that they'll come back in a few minutes for the food again. Read your baby's cues is really important. So as I said, we do have portion sizes, but if your baby is absolutely starving and they need more food, then absolutely give them more food. But I do think that you should look at giving a different food, because it's back to that idea of variety is key. And lastly, but not least, is get messy and enjoy. And that is so important. When I see a baby and they have food all over their face and all over their hair, hopefully they don't have much hair, they have really enjoyed the experience and they love their food. Whereas if you have the opposite of a baby that is perhaps having a squeezy pouch into their mouth, or you're scraping off the food, or you're cleaning their hands in between, they actually have had a negative experience and they will associate meal times negatively. So absolutely 100% let baby enjoy the food. So I hope you enjoyed this. You can receive all this and more in my new baby and family book on mummycooks.com. Thank you for having me.